Hey, I'm Nikita.
And I'm Jabri, and you're listening to Be to Have, a podcast about our personal journey that led us to create who we want to be and do things from that place of being to have what we want and need.
Thank you for joining us as we explore several different love and fear based concepts and the experiences we draw to ourselves because of those powerful energies. So, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this week. We have a special guest on today, and we will be discussing intention. But before we jump into the topic, I do want to just touch on any epiphanies or any highlights from our week. And I'll go first. My week was pretty chill. It's really interesting that we're talking about intention because I actually just learned the power of intention from our guest Robin and her guy Cedric like a couple weeks back. And since then, I have been setting intentions daily, and it's worked out amazing. I think I talked about it briefly in the last podcast that we had last week, but um, really big on setting intentions for my day. It really set the tone for how my day is going to go and what I accept for my day. Other than that, I just kind of, I don't know, just chilled, worked. I went out to this sip and paint event this weekend. It was pretty cool. I went with one of my Good Vibes Retreat friends. And it was more of like a family function, and we were just there. So it was kind of awkward. They were pretty cool though. They were older crowd and just kind of like you can tell that they were family. Like I was like even like in the middle of it, like, are y'all related? And they were like, yeah, we all family up in here. So I guess they just posted this event on Instagram to like get more people to come out, and we actually joined them, and it was okay. Probably wouldn't do it again. I guess how it was set up, like my back was starting to hurt, so we didn't stay very long. And I think other than that, I could feel like a shift. I'm kind of creating a different version of myself, and it's hard because trying to leave that version of myself that I created since I feel like I was, in high school, trying to kind of, you know, push that version aside of myself because it no longer resonates with me and like step into like who I am now and who I feel most confident with or comfortable with. It's hard because I don't know who she is. I just kind of see glimpses of her. She'll kind of peep out and it kind of scares me because it's so different than, who I identify with now, but I know that like that's where I'm headed. So just kind of trying to step into that a little bit more. I was actually meditating this morning, and while I was in meditation, like, it was really clear that I need to spend more time with my solar plexus, and that will help me kind of transition into like this higher version of myself and who I'm, the direction that I'm heading. So excited about that. But other than that, that's pretty much how my week was. How about you, Jabri?
Overall, pretty good. I've been getting some dope rest, like some really, really dope rest. I'm continuing to maintain that peace and that grounding that, I started searching for, what was that, a year ago? But overall, just pretty chill. I um I was researching just like some things to kind of assist with like relaxation and calming, my thoughts and all that great stuff. And just to also kind of like give me some workout on my hands. And so I found these like 1 pound balls, and they're called like Tai Chi balls or something like that. And you move them around, and they help like with hand dexterity. And then they also make this like little chiming noise. So like as you meditate or as you just sit and chilling in meditation and just kind of drifting off into your own little piece or whatever, you rotate the balls, and you get a little hand exercise, and then you also kind of get a little focus. So I've had them now for like 3 days, and like every time like I grab them and I move them around, like I don't know, stuff becoming so clear. I begin so many answers that I pretty much asked myself a long long time ago, just confirmation. and it feels good. So the whole ascension that you're talking about, yeah, I feel like I've kind of leveled up this week also. How about you, Miss Robin?
Mm, I like that. It's interesting. There's a theme, I suppose, with the week that we've shared, because I've been very, very connected to a higher consciousness this week, kind of seeing everything differently, seeing everything from a higher plane. And that introspective view really came out of meditation because I started just being in a really evaluative state of the things around me, people, places, things, being consciously aware of the things that I enjoy, the things that, because everything is changing, everything will always change. And that consciousness brought about some type of peace this week where I realized that sometimes we hold on to things that don't matter, or we put time and energy and effort into things that won't last and that just aren't a big deal. So, kind of having a 5D perspective, that consciousness was really the theme this week. And a lot of that always involves relationships, kind of looking at who am I in this relationship?
Mm-hmm.
What am I? How do I show up?
Mm-hmm.
And so I did notice that theme throughout this week, just consciously not just being in a relationship just because it's a family member or friend or whatever, but just being evaluative of how am I energetically bringing something to this person, and what do I get back in return? So that was different.
That's
it was
dope.
different too. Well, thank you for that. But I think the goal there, once you kind of start seeing the illusion of everything, you kind of get a better perspective on how you vibrate and how you show up in the world. Because I appreciate that I kind of was seeing myself through other people's eyes and not just what I project to want to see. And I don't know, that takes a lot of inner honesty to do that and kind of, see yourself that way and make modifications where necessary.
Are you saying you see yourself in the people that you're interacting with?
Well, like very much so, like because with us being creators and us creating our reality, I definitely pay attention to the mirror. So I definitely pay attention to how I move with the people around me, how they move with me, because if you don't see the mirror, you're always going to have a complaint. You're always going to have, so knowing that the people that are around me are these mirrored relationships, it takes on a different perspective than to just think, well, maybe this person does this and I don't like it, or I don't care for blah, blah, blah. Just seeing it from that higher consciousness and knowing that those are mirrors kind of gives more introspective view of myself. So that's probably been the thing for me for the last 2 weeks.
That's pretty deep. Like, I can understand where you're coming from, but I don't know. That like you said, it takes some really deep introspective work, like, and to really be completely like honest with yourself and kind of like really have your eyes like wide open. You know what I mean? So I really admire you for doing that. I also want to kind of open up the floor for you to kind of just tell us about Robin. Who is Robin Love? Anything you want the world to know?
Oh, Robin Love is a continuing, ongoing process of becoming the creator of my life, sitting in the driver's seat, no longer being on autopilot, no longer identifying with what others shaped me to be, but me stepping into my own, how I was created to be. Born Robin Denise Taylor, I went through a deep spiritual transformation. I used to hold positions of pastoring, Christianity, a lot of those things. And somewhere along the way, my interest was deeply piqued in the spiritual world beyond what I grew up with and the BS I grew up with. That, of course, standing for belief systems. And once I got in this deep evaluation of what I truly believe versus what I was taught, it unfolded a whole world of spirituality for me, where I got to really do a lot of shadow work, meaning work on myself and working on behaviors and beliefs and why I feel this way, why I behave this way, why I do those things. And that was a painful process of remodeling myself. And I'm sure it's not over. I'm sure it's not
Girl,
over.
okay.
I'm sure that's not over, but it led me down a path that I'm still on right now. And that path included legally changing my name to Robin Love, which was something that was born out of a ceremony when 8 hours of purging and 8 hours of deep diving into my very soul. And in that process, it was deeply spiritual. All of my spirits and guides were present to help me through that process. And I was named, I didn't just name myself Robin Love at the end of that ceremony. And the most amazing thing about it was when my daughter was born, my one and only daughter, I wanted to name her Robin Love. And I don't remember how they got vetoed. So at the end of that ceremony, to spiritually hear that that was my name, it became real. And it's my life. So that's where Robin Love came from. That's who she is.
So it kind of worked out that it was vetoed because she wasn't Robin Love. You are Robin Love.
That is exactly what I was told at the end of the ceremony. Like the name you wanted to give her, it's you. It's always been you. And so that's where Robin Love came from.
That's cool.
It's very different.
I want to, I had 2 questions from just your brief introduction. Like you mentioned that you're stepping into like who you were created to be versus like who you have been like this whole time, because you did mention that you were deeply rooted into like the church and you did a lot like within the church and within Christianity. Like how did you come to the realization that who you were, post your spiritual journey, or, just post, who you are standing up and showing up as today? Like, how did you know that? And I'm asking you this because I feel like I'm kind of trying to get there too, but how did you know that that wasn't who you were and that you had to recreate, a different version of yourself so you can actually be who you are authentically and who you were made to be?
Thank you for asking that question. There's 2 ways I want to answer it. First, I want to say I was a soldier when it came to the Christian church. Like I went hard. So, I gave it everything I had. But I have to say something deep inside didn't feel authentic about it. Something felt like there was a part that was missing. And I'm a person that's very naturally inquisitive. And it was my journey through all 66 books of the Bible that let me know that something was left out and there was more. And I went to the largest Christian university for undergrad and grad school. And so they led us to these other texts that piqued my interest even more and had me say, something's missing, something's not quite right. So that's the first thing. But the second thing, to answer your question, I could not get to this place without owning that I was the cause of where I was. I had to take 100% complete responsibility that I created the hellhole of a life that I was living. I couldn't blame anybody, anyone, and everyone around me at the time were all mirrors showing me who I really was. But it was me. And until I was able to own that and own that it wasn't nothing that ever happened in my life was anybody else's fault, then that's when I was able to really step into that spiritual growth that I'm still cultivating now.
So I got a question for you.
I love that.
I do too. I love that. But how do you stay there? So like I'm pretty good at like recognizing, pattern recognition of, things that I probably still need to deal with or haven't dealt with. But and it's okay, like when I do it one time, but like how do you continually stay there and also give yourself the grace and the love that you need to just, move through it and make peace with it and just keep evolving as a human being?
That's a great question too. I would say that how do you stay there? It's a daily process. It's not something that is kind of like exercising and looking for results at the gym, and how you're like, okay, I know I'm doing the right things and you're waiting to see results. It just took a daily view of myself, meditation helped quite a bit to stay there. Because just because there's a difference between